Finding extreme values of functions. Extreme values, let me move my graph here, let me move my calculator. Extreme values occur at high points or low points. You may refer to those as a hill or as a valley on a graph. At the high points, the maximums are the y values. So the y values are at the top of the hill, and we call those a maximum value. The low points are at the bottom of a valley, and we call those y values the minimums of the graph. Okay. We have two types. We have local or relative extreme values, and they occur within a neighborhood. In other words, they are the highest point within that particular portion of the graph. These will not occur at an end point of a graph. The absolute extreme values are the highest or lowest points on the entire graph. They may occur at an end point. Oops, I spelled that wrong. Let me get my D in there. So they may occur at an end point. Let's look at this graph and find the local minimum, maximum, and the absolute minimum and maximum. Okay. So I'm going to just look at the graph and see what I can find here. I see that this high point here is going to be a maximum. So it's the highest point in its area. So I'm going to call this one of my local maximum points. Okay. The y value here is 12.7. So my local max is y equals 12.7. Now, it's also helpful to tell where that happens. That occurs where the x value is -2. So the maximum is actually 12.7. Where that happens is where x equals -2. Now, I may also notice that this point is the highest point on the entire graph. There is no other point that's going to get any higher because both of these ends are going to keep going down. So the same value is my absolute maximum. Y equals 12.7, occurring at x equals -2. Okay. That's not the only maximum I have. I have another maximum over here. So this is another local or relative maximum because it's the highest point in its area. So I would refer to this one as a local max of 2.25 because that's the y value. And it is occurring at the x value of 3. Now, the valley I have is this point down here. So my y value for it, it's not there, my local minimum is -3.1. And it occurs at x equals 1. Now this graph does not have any absolute minimums because the endpoints each keep going down forever. If I didn't have this portion, let's say I didn't have this portion, say my graph ended right here. I didn't have any of this, and let's say I didn't have any of this right here. Then the lowest point would be at an end point. And this could be an absolute maximum. But as long, an absolute minimum. But as long as your tails keep going, you're not going to have that minimum on this graph. Now here's one where we are not given a graph, which means we've got to put it in our calculator to find out this information. So let me enlarge my calculator, turn it on, and go to the graph. y equals x raised to the third power plus 4x squared minus x minus 2. Now I want to set this on a standard window and then look at my graph. Okay, this is good. I do see a graph that looks like it's a cubic graph because I have one tail going down and one tail going up. I have a high point here and I have a low point here. So this high point will be a relative or local maximum. To find that maximum value, I'm going to use my calculate feature. So I'm going to do second trace, and I'm going to go down to the fourth option, maximum. Press enter, and the way this works is I want to move my cursor using the side-to-side arrows all the way over until I'm past that high point. Just a little bit to the left of that maximum. So either there or here would be fine. Once you get to the left of the maximum, press enter. Then it will ask you for the right bound. So that means you want to move to the right of the maximum, just a little bit, and press enter. And then guess. So that means you're going to move to the middle of it. Just so you're close to it, press enter. And it will find the value of that. The relative maximum here is a y of 10.2. I'm just going to round to one decimal place here. And it occurs at x equals negative 2.8. So that is my relative maximum, or my local maximum. I do not have an absolute max. Because this graph is going to keep going up here. Now, let's do the minimums. I have a relative or local minimum at the bottom of this valley. So to find that, I'm going to use this calculate menu again, second trace, but this time I want to choose the third option, minimum. So now I want to move my cursor to the left of the minimum I'm looking for. So I'm going to again use the side-to-side arrows until I'm to the left of it. I want it close to it, but I want to be sure I'm on the left of it. So this is probably close enough. Press enter. And then I want to move my cursor to the right and press enter. And then I want to move my cursor to the middle and press enter. And I get that the relative minimum here is y equals negative 2.1, and it occurs when x is 0.1. And once again, I will not have an absolute minimum here because the tail of the graph will go on forever.